show intro. It's just me, Tio, with our... well, yeah, we're about to go. This is episode 236. Usual disclaimer, this is the raw version of the show, which we leave up on YouTube. I don't edit it. The real thing is the MP3, which you can download via your usual podcast clients, etc., etc. So we'll be going shortly. We have one guest this week, someone who hasn't been on before. Chill will introduce her properly. Know her as Holly, someone from across the pond. If you're in the US, for us it's, well, sort of the other way, but anyway. In
couple of ponds.
Indeed. Very, very big pond. Indian Ocean. Anyway. By the by, yeah, okay. So, Holly, you're recording, because you've already started. Chill, you're recording.
Yes,
Audacity is rolling. Test. Okay. Looks good.
Is your volume always this loud, Chill? You just seem a little louder than normal. Maybe my headset.
It's at 90. It's at my normal amount.
Okay.
Does it sound okay to you, Holly?
Yeah, it sounds fine.
Okay.
Actually,
maybe it's because I readjusted my mic, so it really is pointing right at me right now.
Oh, I will in a second. Thank you. All right. Just been reminded to tweet out about the show.
and Tio, is there a way for you to play the special Utini Rage?
There is.
Excellent. Okay.
Well, we have 4, in fact, but I'm only going to play
I know.
1. Yes.
Yes.
So yes, I did get your message, Shell. It's fine to tease it if you like. I don't know. I never like to oversell this stuff, but
yeah.
Unless you just want
to
make it a surprise.
Yeah. I have to let me reload Twitch.tv. It's for some reason when it brought up the ad, the chat sort of disappeared on me.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just make sure it's working for me as well. Anyone in Twitch? I've got the viewer list and I'll get rid of it. God, stupid.
Okay, now I've got the list.
How do I get rid of it? I'm going to have to refresh the window.
Durara's saying that they can't hear you necessarily?
Oh. In that case, 1 second. I'm going to stop the stream. And... yeah, it's picking up the wrong mic. Alright. So... yeah, if you're watching the stream, please let me know if that worked. That's where it is. Thank you, Chill. T was very low. That's because the mic that it was picking up is this one down here on my desk, which is a little out of the way. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you all. Okay, I will start my recording as well. Let's roll, Chill. And Holly, if you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that can't wait for you to hear the Utini Rage in the outro. This is episode 236, being recorded on Wednesday, November 25th, 2015. I'm your host, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys, and yeah, it is kind of cool.
And we do have one guest today, brand new to the show, so welcome, Holly, a.k.a. Noctua. How you doing, Holly?
Hi, thanks. I'm good. Hi.
And how might people in the community know you?
They might know me from if playing on TRE, the Red Eclipse. I'm the GM of Ominous Latin Name, a bit inactive at the time, but it's been around for a little while at least. Or they might know me from my blog, gamersdecrypted.com, where I write about gaming and psychology and things like that, where I go by the name of Noctua.
Right, and there's a lot of interesting SWTOR stuff, but also just interesting general gaming stuff. Like is professional gaming an esport? Is it a sport? That sort of thing. A lot of interesting articles on there, so I definitely recommend that folks check you out online. So, so how did you get into SWTOR?
Oh, how did I get into it? Well, I was playing with a friend of mine. Well, it was a friend of mine who suggested I should try it, and he said, like, you're not one of those boring girls who won't try a game just because, you haven't played it before, right? And, of course I was going to prove him wrong, and I started playing it, and then I got really like into the story of it. I just loved the idea that you could be like Jedi and be dark side, and you could be a Sith and you could be light side. I love the kind of like the moral complexity of it.
Yes.
So I got really into the story, and then halfway through, my friend dropped off and he wouldn't play it anymore, and he wanted to do other things, and I wanted to stay home and play, and that's pretty much how it went. I found the little icon, the PvP Warzone thingy, and on the minimap, and I thought, this looks like a really cool flashpoint, and I enjoyed it a lot. And after that, I never came back to the story again. It was just
You
killing
love the
stuff
PvP.
over again.
Just right into the PvP.
I
Disappeared
had no
into it.
I had no idea what it was. But,
Holly, is there any way you could increase your volume a little more? Or that's as high as it goes?
I can.
Beautiful.
Is that better?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's hope that works.
Awesome. All right. And what have you been doing recently in game?
Recently in game, I haven't been as active. I guess I started studying as well, so that's taking up a bit more of my time. But no, I haven't been very active in game anymore. I've been
Right.
playing a little bit on Toffen, but not much.
Yeah, and you said you'd be taking a break from writing for a little while you do some studying. Is that right?
Just for a few weeks maybe, and then I'll be right back at it.
Right. What are you studying?
I'm studying PR and communication, actually.
Very good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very yeah. So you're already working on your writing skills and so on. So that's excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good work.
All right. And once again, what was that? The name of your site?
Gamersdecrypted.com.
Awesome. All right. And Tio, how about your week?
Well, let's talk about raiding, because for various reasons, that's pretty much all I did this week in Star Wars The Old Republic, aside from some more inventory management, where I was just reorganizing my bank again. But anyway, so raiding, we got the group together just for, I think it was for Friday night. We did a quick story mode to Wario's Courtyard while we waited for Pez to patch his client, because if you remember, game update 4.0.1 that would have been was actually quite large, and there were some problems with the content delivery network, the CDN, which meant, at least for some Americans, it was still actually quite slow to download. So anyway, Brian, our good friend BoDaddy from the guild, stepped in just to take his place, so we just did story mode Wario's Courtyard, easy enough. And then we did the story mode of the day via the group finder, and that was Eternity Vault. So this is the first time we've been back in since it's been reset with Knights of the Fallen Empire. So overall, really easy. No real issue at all. We pretty much blow through it, but it is just story mode, so that is pretty much what you would hope for.
Right.
But we encountered some bugs, and
Couple of them.
I got to say, I was sad that these bugs still exist. In fact, it's a little ironic because Eternity Vault was the first operation in the game. It was well known for having issues back in the day, 4 years ago. You would think that between then and now, they would have actually made sure that it was pretty much working without fault. But anyway, so what actually happened was Gaj, that is the second boss, the guy who jumps between the islands. Well, he jumped to the second island. Well, the second island, the little bridge appears, ran across to it, no worries. He jumped across, and then the island disappeared. And we're all standing there in the lava, and he jumped back to the first island. It's like, oh
yeah,
no.
that was weird. He even knew to jump back to the island before we did.
And we tried to get back to that first island to fight him again, but no, didn't quite make it, because it does a lot of damage, even in story
Yeah,
mode,
it
in
added
the
up
lava.
really fast. Yeah.
So anyway, second time round, no problem. Everything worked as expected.
Right.
Then we did the puzzle boss, which is the two consoles where you got the thing to solve where you rotate either way. We did screw it up the first time. You do actually have to solve it efficiently. That is, you can't just, each time you rotate, like go the same direction. You'll eventually get it right before you can continue. we actually, if you just do it like that, it takes too long, and it will reset on you.
Yeah, that's the problem. And we could deal with the damage and so on. We were still handling it, even though we were getting multiple gold stars coming out and so on.
Yeah.
We could have definitely lasted a few more turns.
Absolutely.
And we were very close, but yeah, unfortunately, it did reset on us.
Yeah, which
So
surprised me.
Yeah, so we had to go back to the old. I think it was an app or something.
I used the website. Either way, there's plenty of things out there to solve the Swotwall pylons puzzle. So yeah, that's easy enough. That's what we did the second time. We also started too early, so we didn't have a chance to solve it the first time, because I think I told Kuzey we want to keep moving, because he's one of our tanks now. Just keep moving straight ahead, and so
Right, he wanted to just jump in. Yep.
So fair enough. Now, interestingly, once we did solve it and get it done, we got teleported to the chest, which is in the middle. Normally, you just have to run down there, which was kind of weird.
That was interesting.
Whatever. The third boss, the commanders, fourth boss, the commanders, not the commanders, the fourth boss, where you have to fight someone. Everyone has to fight someone. That was easy enough. No problem at all with that. And then we got to SOA. Now, we may have mentioned that when Knights of the Fallen Empire first came out, there was a bug with SOA where the platforms, as they fall, were not visible. Makes it a bit hard to do. I mean, you can sort of remember where they were, but wow. But anyway, they were visible. No problem at all. So what happened was, we got all the way down to the bottom. So, you fall down once and you fall down again. Got down to the bottom. There was a bit of weirdness with the platforming. Bill actually got his character killed when he was jumping to another platform, and then he got teleported somewhere else. Kind of weird.
Yeah, he said he used his leap to get down in to one of the targetable pyramids, but someone else killed it when he was on the way, and it for whatever reason it automatically redirected him to another one, like that was further down, but it was too far down, and the fall killed him. So that was bizarre. I had no idea that could happen, or that would happen. But clearly he didn't either.
But we got down to the bottom, and then SOA despawned. The first platform had recreated above us. We're all standing there. We could look up and see it. We couldn't even slash stuck because we were out of combat, and we were just stuck there. So we had the exit area and come in again. Second time round, everything worked as it should, and all was well. Took him down. So I do like the big blue circle that now appears when you're down at the bottom platform. The trick is that the tank has to pull SOA underneath these large columns, pyramidal columns that come out of the lava around the area. They float up and then they drop down, and you want to make sure SOA's underneath them. There's now a massive blue circle basically showing you where the pyramid is, or it's going to be, and making it really easy. So
I know, back in my day when I was tanking it, there was no such thing. I had to keep looking up and looking down and trying to figure out where he was going to land.
So that's a very positive improvement.
And if it lands on you, then you're in trouble. I mean, it's a good chunk of damage, and it's also a knockback. It can knock you into the lava on the outside. So it was, definitely, it would definitely have been a lot easier back in the day to have those circles, man.
Oh, absolutely. So overall, pretty fun run. Just getting through it. So it was actually kind of good to be back there and do it at level. Though, interestingly, it wasn't that challenging. I believe it has a reputation of being the easiest of the hard modes to get gear from if you're going to do that. So if you wanted to farm anything, you'd be doing that one probably, along with Karaga's Palace, most likely. Okay, now, I didn't actually play much this week, mainly due to the issue with the endless piles of bodies, which we will get to later in the news, but that did kind of put a damper on people's experience if you're anywhere where there was instanced areas. But anyway, but we'll get to that. And then finally, both Chill and myself participated with Snave in his new show, Take a Seat on Tor Community. Now, the video for that will be posted on YouTube, hopefully by the time this show goes live, so we'll link to that in the show notes. He was more or less interviewing Chill and myself about the game generally and how we got there, current opinions on things, that kind of thing. We were aiming for an hour. It went for nearly 2 hours. So quite a lot of conversation
fun,
there.
though.
It was. It was. Snave is a fantastic host. Really, really good. Just a natural interviewer. So the conversation flowed very nicely. It was a good talk. Anyway, that's my week. Over to you, Chill.
All right. First, a shout out to the chat room. It's updating on me. Here we go. Akatanar is here. Ari is here. Bill646, Beware 2, Dark Edge Gaming, Dekion, Diggity82, DreadX, Drumas, Duke of Etiquette, Elion D, Fionha, Gihana, Jawkins, JP, Chivalry, Lustin Lash, Moratan, Moralin, let's see, PNFL Detroit, Brothel, perhaps Scott Thomas, Silent Sorrow, Siskayetka, Sithfish, and Thomas Sunrunner are all here.
Perhaps it's me.
One of those is you?
Yeah, one of us is me, yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, hello everyone. I got Datacron Master this week, so that was nice. I did that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I did that so I would have maximum presence because of the companion nerf.
Right.
And
Temporary nerf.
yes, but it's still not going to be as strong as it used to
True.
be, so it'll be helpful. On the Republic side, it was all presence datacrons. On the Empire side, it turned out to be all shards, I guess, because I just don't do rating on that side. And I mostly get those datacrons when I want to get a character ready for operations. And thank you to Gildy and show friend Sukai Beru for helping me get the 2-man shard datacron on Balmora on the Empire side. It's simple enough, but you have to have 2 people because you have to click on the same thing at the same time, 2 different things at the same time,
Right.
in order to open up a door, essentially. And after the datacrons, which I did do stream on, I really didn't stream after that because I ended up just doing a lot of bookkeeping gaming, so that when I get back to Star Fortresses, I'll have companions with decent amounts of of influence. And also, I did a lot of it on my banking characters so that I can craft at a good level. I'm not up to 50, not anywhere near, but got up to the 20s on multiple companions. So, and that takes a long. Even just doing that took a long time. So I listened to podcasts and listened to streams and stuff like that. It just did a lot of gifting, a lot of gifting. So whatever the companion's response is, I heard it over and over and over again. So
maybe it's best to play without sound, or the game sound switched off.
maybe so. Yeah, maybe turn it off temporarily or something. But yeah, that got pretty old. But yeah, I got a bunch of characters up, and it is a little scary because, as I think Bill mentioned the other day, it's like the last level or something. The last couple levels are just huge amounts of influence. So it's like, even though I'm roughly halfway through the levels, I look at the little influence bar that shows you how far along you are, and it's like a fraction of it. Oh my god, it's so far to go if I want to get all the way to 50. So that is going to be a while, but I'll just have to work on it slowly over time, I guess. Crazy.
But so, firstly, just worth mentioning that increasing influence, as Chill is doing, increases both combat effectiveness and your crafting efficiency and crit chance. So those are the reasons. For a non-crafter, you probably just need 1 follower, exactly 1, at a high level of influence, because that will be the character you use in combat, and they can be your tank, your healer, or your DPS, as you see fit. And for the crafters, well, I guess you only need 6 total at reasonable levels of influence, because you can send
Only
6 out of
6.
missions.
Right.
Yeah. But yes, that's why you do it.
Boy, that took a long time, and like I say, it's still a long way to go. Excuse me a sec. Sorry about that. All right, yeah. So a lot of sort of like I said, bookkeeping gaming, where I was just gifting and gifting. But it was actually kind of relaxing in a way, which was it was actually okay. All right, so that will bring us to the tip of the week, and we've got 5 tips this week. I'll start us off with Asuka, Jedi Shadow on the Harbinger. Hey there, OotiniCasters. It keeps coming up that Knights of the Fallen Empire is too easy or plays itself. Sure, the healer's been nerfed, but it's still a breeze. I don't remember if this has come up in discussion with you guys, but you have mentioned using a DPS companion instead of the healer stance. So, if you want to complain that these are too easy, that's fine, but if you do, try playing without the companion at all. If you do, it's a little awkwardly phrased. Let me redo that one. Well, if you want to complain that these are too easy, that's fine. But if you do, try playing without the companion at all. You don't have to have a companion out at all times. They're meant to make it easier. Dismiss that companion and quest alone. Keep up the good work, casters.
Now,
you can do that.
The one and only achievement, that requires doing the Star Fortresses with no companion on Heroic. Is that correct?
I thought it was without the buff on her.
Oh, without the buffs, isn't? But you can have a companion?
As far as I know.
Okay. Oh, I haven't looked.
I thought the point of it was that you didn't take that extra buff from the boxes.
Right.
From the clickables.
Let me quickly check. Do a live fact check. And Dolphy obviously has her guide. One and only. Doing it live.
Decion's saying that you can have a companion, so just no buffs.
Right, but without another player, right?
And no other player, right? You have to be solo as well.
I think we mentioned it again later, so we'll clarify it at that point. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Right, our second tip is from the Duke of Etiquette. Hey, OotiniCast, he says. This is the Duke of Etiquette coming at you with a tip for new players. I recently started playing the Glory, that is SWOTOR. I've been having a blast. I've also been enjoying your podcast, but don't have enough free time to go listen to old episodes. That's perfectly okay. There's far too many to actually get through our back catalogue, and a lot of it's outdated now anyway. But anyway, So for any new players out there like me, the interface editor exists and is great. However, I personally don't enjoy creating a new layout from scratch, but I recently discovered the website SWOTOR Interfaces, which is swotorui.com. Tons of people post their interface files to the site so that I don't have to create one from scratch. Yeah, I haven't talked about those guys for ages, but yeah, they have been around, and I guess people are still contributing, so that's great. He continues, I was able to find an interface someone created and make a few minor tweaks to fit my style just right. I'd highly recommend any new players out there to check this site out or give the interface editor a try for themselves. It made the game much more enjoyable for me. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Right.
And extra gold star for the Hitchhiker's Guide reference.
That's right. About 4 months ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, someone wrote to the show and asked that I upload mine, so I went ahead and did that. So mine is up there too. And
excellent.
Yeah. I don't pretend that it's like the best, but it's the one I use. And it works for me.
Chill, if you throw a link to that in the show notes, I'll put that in our post.
Okay.
That's probably there in the archive somewhere, but anyway.
I think you can, I think if you search on Chill, it pretty much pops right up.
Okay.
But
no worries.
I can do that if you want.
That's fine.
Third tip from Orion's Belt of the Galactic Defense Guild on Jedi Covenant. Altaholic maybe? This is more of a servant than a tip, since all the main stats are mastery. When leveling alts, all you really need are 3 sets of gear: DPS, heals, and tank. For starter endgame alts, use the multitude of orange legacy gear items that we receive. You can use common data crystals to purchase the level 65 purple 208 gear, pull the mods out, and create the sets. This is nothing new and something most everyone knows, but the shells of this gear are level 65 and the mods are level 64. Your alts can use this a level early. Nothing special, just an observance I made when doing this. I've not tested this on lower level gear, so it may be the same throughout the game.
That's weird. The mods being that level lower than the actual shells they come in.
Yeah, it's happened a few times in the game, but I think more typically they are the same level as the actual gear, but sometimes they do. It is like that.
Okay. All right. Fourth tip is from Zavi Java on the Harbinger. Hello guys, especially like last week's episode, have started up my own companion gift engine. Anyway, this is a small tip. Instead of turning in the supply crates to the Alliance specialists at first, resist the temptation. Save up 30 of them first, so that you can turn them into the resistance contracts for unlocking hard mode Star Fortresses. It is very annoying to get to the part of the quest chain for the Heroic Star Fortress where you must turn in 5 supply crates only to realize that you are out of them, because then you must go farm some of the weekly heroics to get 5 supply crates. It is suboptimal, as I would say, and breaks the flow of the quest chain. Have fun! Oh, thank you. In fact, I don't think I have unlocked any of the hard mode Star Fortresses. I wanted to get the companion nerf, de-nerf, unnerf sorted before I did that, but I guess I can now.
So oh man, so you have to unlock it for each of those planets?
So it would appear. All 6,
Yikes.
5 each.
Ooh, okay. All right, well, I look forward to that. Cal wrote, as the 5th tip, when you're doing the quest to get Kaizen as a companion, you can kill 3 world bosses for 3,500 influence, and each of which will get you up to level 10. My tip is to keep killing as many world bosses as possible, as the quest only ends when you choose to go to it, and this is a much cheaper way of getting those 35 influence per kill than spending your hard-earned credits on gifts.
Indeed. I guess if you keep doing world bosses, you get all the way to 50. Well,
I suppose you could.
It might take a
Probably.
while, but you get that.
Yeah.
Better than gifts, that's for sure.
Well, you can only, I believe you can only get it once per world boss. That's on the list on the mission.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I seem to remember reading that when I was doing Kaizen the other.
That sounds
about
familiar.
a week ago.
Yep.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I don't know if there's a limit to. Is there a limit to the creatures things that you turn in?
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah, or if it is, maybe it's like as many as you can fit in your mission box, because
Yeah.
I think each one of them take up a square. Okay, interesting. Well, by random allotment, the winner is Asuka. So congratulations, Asuka. You're the winner of a Ton Fawn or M83R droid pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and a new OotiniCast provided Cartel Market pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday. That will bring us to the holo feed. Tio?
All right, we just had a couple of clarifications from Dark Edge Gaming. So those mods, the 208 mods are level 64, require level 64, but the 216 mods are level 65. So if you're pulling them out of gear, just be aware of that. And also, for unlocking those Heroic Star Fortresses, they only works out to being 4 crates each, because when you blow up the shield bunker, you will get 1 back each time. So
Oh, that's nice.
only 4 times 6 rather than 5 times 6. All right, on to the news. So, let's talk about the companion denerf, unnerf, whatever you want to call it. So, last week, when Game Update 4.0.2 went live, they had drastically reduced the effectiveness of companions. We talked about this at some length last week, so we all knew what was coming, and the consequence was, well, it made things a lot harder. That was the general observation of what people had been saying towards the end of last week. So, following those changes, what BioWare did was ask people how it was actually working out. They put a thread in the forums and asked people to actually comment, and they were requesting things like even video showing you your gameplay and how the experience was going for you. Now, as part of this post, they actually outlined exactly what their specific design goals were for the companions and the content itself in terms of how challenging it should be, which is interesting itself because they never really make this stuff explicit. Well, they have now. So, firstly, leveling content. That is, as you're just leveling your character through the story and missions in the open world, if you like. And the challenge level for this is meant to be low. So to complete this content, players should have a basic understanding of game mechanics and have level appropriate gear. And your companion's role shouldn't matter. So more or less,
Don't even have to click on it. It should just go.
It's kind of hard to screw it up, or should be.
Yeah, should be.
So for the Knights of the Fallen Empire chapters, that's once you hit 60 and go through to 65 via the not so open world story. The challenge level is also low, just like because it is leveling content. and basic understanding game mechanics and level appropriate gear. So don't get too far behind with your gear. And again, they reckon roll shouldn't matter. That's interesting, because some of those fights could get a little challenging, like if you didn't have a heal companion. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was your
Hopefully you'd
intention.
be able to finish the fight, then it just means you have to heal up more each time.
Oh no, that takes time. Now, heroic 2 missions. Now, specifically, they're talking about all of those heroics that used to be on all of the, which are on all of the planets. Some of them used to be heroic 4s. They were all converted to heroic 2s. All are with level sync. They give you appropriate XP and are synced to your level, more or less. And for these, the challenge level isn't low, it's medium. To complete this content, a player should have a good understanding of the class game mechanics, as well as level appropriate gear. Your role should matter and should supplement your discipline. So if you're a tank, you should probably have a healer with you, or a DPS. If you're DPS, you should probably have a healer, typically. Again, or a tank, depending on your playstyle.
Right.
And they expect some players to find the heroic 2s initially challenging, and maybe even needing a friend's help. That's the 2 in the heroic 2. But once a player earns better gear and a few levels of influence with their companion and has a greater understanding of the game, so all of that, they should be able to solo the hardest of these missions. None of the heroic 2s are really that challenging.
Right. Apparently only McKeb is the still
No.
sticky wicket.
Oh yeah, some of those are a little nasty to solo, if I remember correctly. Now, next is Star Fortress. Now, this is not heroic. This is just basic default Star Fortress, story Star Fortress, if you will. Now, these also have a challenge level of medium, similar to heroic 2s. To complete the content, we expect you to have level appropriate gear, good understanding of your class, a few levels of influence, and you may need someone's help to finish. That's your intention. But now we come to heroic Star Fortresses. Now, these are not apparently meant to be the same as heroic 2s. That is, their challenge level is high. We expect players to really understand their class, their companion, and their gear. You have to have the gear up to date and upgraded, if ideally, and you will have to increase your companion's influence level. They're meant to be challenging and difficult to solo. Now, and they also mentioned the one and only achievement, which requires you to complete the heroic Star Fortress with all of them with no buffs. You can still have your companion with you, but you'll probably have to get them. Dekion was saying he had to get his to influence level 40 before he could actually solo it. Before he could actually solo it without another player helping. So yeah, it'd be hard. So anyway, based on where everything's meant to be, they asked people, so how is it now that we've sort of messed with the balance? And I think the general answer was not so good. Because going into the weekend, they posted, after thanking everyone for their feedback, they said they've gone through that thread, all the responses, the forums generally, Reddit, the SWTOR subreddit, social media, and they were trying to gather perspectives. And they've come out of this with quite a few action items. Management terminology. It's terrible. But anyway. And one of them was buffs to companions. So on Monday, this previous Monday, they released a post, or will release a post highlighting what they're going to do, etc. Which they did. And this came from Michael Backus, who is the lead designer. Chill, you spoke to him when you were in the New York Cantina. And he's quite well known for being quite garrulous. He loves to talk and is usually quite open about things.
Yeah.
So, interestingly, he starts it with an apology. And in his words, I wanted to take a minute to apologize for the recent companion changes and address combat balance. I want to do so personally because as fans of the game and our customers, we cherish your feedback and value all of you. And I feel you deserve to hear this information directly. So, it's not often the game designers kind of apologise for a misstep, but so it's good to see. Clearly, they got this wrong, but they have been quite quick to correct. So he actually talks through why they changed things and then what they're going to do about it. So, just to summarise it. Combat balance is kind of hard. And what they mean by that is that picking the right level of difficulty, because there's this spectrum of player ability. Players will be all across the board in terms of just how well they understand the class, the mechanics, their abilities, whatever.
Right.
And so you've got to pitch your difficulty of your encounters to somewhere. You've always got to draw the line somewhere. So for some people that will still be way, way easy, and for some people that will be still quite hard. So I guess with the initial release of companions, they lowered the bar all the way down. And that's what they observed, that everyone could pretty much complete the content just using their companions. So, as he says, you could enter combat, let your companions start fighting, you go off and make yourself a cup of tea, you come back, all the enemies are dead. So that's not quite what they were shooting for. They actually do kind of prefer you to actually play the game. So, what they did with Game Update 4.0.2, which came out last week, was tone down companion power significantly to be in line with their stated goals, which we have already gone through. That is, the different levels of difficulty. And then they hit something unexpected, because in their mind, Heroic 2s were something that they really thought that people would have to do with a friend, and if they didn't have a friend with them, they really should know how to play. It turned out a whole lot of people were trying to do this solo, and that's where they sort of had to change the direction. They realised that, well, turns out that people like doing these Heroic 2s solo with a companion, so therefore what we're going to do is buff companions back, so unnerf them, de-nerf them, so that it is once again possible for you to do Heroic 2s. And they outlined what they actually changed, like healing has been pretty much increased by half again, so 48%, though your influence level and character level all influence the actual specific numbers. Damage has been increased by about 15%, and their base stats, which will affect everything, has been gone up by about 15%. And there are some specifics in the show notes. So that should, as he indicated, let you do Heroic 2 solo once more. However, Star Fortresses, well, the story initial level, the default mode, will pretty much be the same as Heroic 2s. However, the Heroic Star Fortresses are going to be as difficult as they intended. They will be difficult to solo. So, and in fact, they said, we're actually going to change the nomenclature, the naming, so that they're not going to call it Heroic anymore. They're going to come up with a better name so that people don't get confused. Because when they talked about Heroic stuff and Heroic 2s, there really was a bit of overlap in people's minds, certainly in my mind. Are they talking about the Star Fortresses or not? So they're going to call them something else. They haven't told us what yet. Any suggestions?
Bring a friend?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they apparently got a bunch of suggestions from people, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to still have the issue that that Bill was referring to last week, where you can't necessarily bring a friend because they're locked out of it unless they have unlocked that particular planet's Star Fortress?
That's more of an initial hurdle, and once everyone's sort of up to the right point, once you've unlocked the Heroic Star Fortresses, certainly, you should be fine. So you wouldn't think that would be a problem, not for the Heroic versions. So anyway, bottom line, they increased companion power, but Heroic Star Fortresses, or those Star Fortresses formerly known as Heroic, are going to get a new name and will be as tough as ever. So even with the buffed companions, you'll still probably need a friend until you're geared up and have high influence. So anyway,
So what the heck difficulty was I doing it on? I mean, I did one that was like definitely a story mode, but then when I actually went through to unlock, to the first time for a planet, that was very hard. I'm hoping that's the Heroic one, but if it's not, I have no idea how much harder it's going to be.
Was this, you were doing this
was a couple weeks back.
Okay.
No, it was pre-nerf.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, unless you handed in those 5 crates, I'm guessing you weren't doing on a Heroic.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Don't remember.
okay.
It was part of the planet story thing, though.
Yeah, in that case, I think it was the initial version. But
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, Dark Edge Gaming suggested, why don't you just call them hard mode Star Fortress? Because we have hard mode operations after all versus story mode. Yeah. Well, Turk's been saying for a while that any of the instance content, even like instance areas as part of the story, should actually have a difficulty slider. So you can have like the story mode, which is the easy one that we do now, the low difficulty, but also be able to crank it up and then have extra credits or extra something if you do complete it.
Right.
But it's actually challenging content. It'd be kind of nice, rather than just that level set, which is probably a lot lower than at least the more experienced gamers would prefer. Anyway, that was all from Michael Backus, and it all became realised in Game Update 4.2. Game Update 4.02a, which came out on Tuesday. Though, before we get to that, let's just mention the issue that I mentioned in my intro, which was, well, the piles of corpses. Basically, in various places in the game, specifically the heroic instance areas on various planets, the corpses were not despawning. That is, when someone in an instance area killed a mob, its body didn't disappear after a few minutes. Usually it hangs around a bit, especially if someone hasn't looted it, but then it will automatically despawn. Now, the problem when they mount up is that your client still has to render them. So if there's hundreds of them in the area in which you're playing, the lag is kind of gets kind of nasty, and there'd probably be extra client server communication as well, because it's got to tell you about all those hundreds of corpses whenever you step into one of these areas. So the planets got really, really laggy as a result. I guess once a new instance spawned, it'd be fine, but they tend, and instances of on particular planets, they come and go depending on population. But a lot of them are going to hang around for a while, and they would quickly choke up. They did do a server restart on Monday to temporarily alleviate the problem. But on Monday, it was Monday, to temporarily, but yeah, they were waiting for the patch to fix it properly. Though, as Razhack said, I think the corpse bug would be awesome in Warzones, add to the realism. But he's glad it's going to be fixed. Imagine that.
I was just thinking, don't you think there's like a moral to this story? We should stop doing PvE altogether and just go into PvP. All of these bugs. I think BioWare is trying to tell us to move on to PvP.
Which is kind of counter to everything else they're telling us about PvP at the moment.
That's very true. See, they're trying to make the PvEers do PvP, and they're trying to make the PvPers try PvE.
That's true, isn't it? Well, they've managed to convince a whole lot of people to get the certain companion, which they require 20 Warzone.
Indeed. Yeah. Very effectively making them queue for the Warzones and go in and do /sit. And
oh no, really? Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess I just have to lose 20 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, great
for them. It's just 20 for them, though. It's a lot more for us, for everyone who does it. It amounts to a lot of people.
Oh boy. Alright, so anyway, game update. Has anyone... I asked this during the interview with Snave, but is there any word at all on the next PvP ranked season? Season 7, that would be. I've heard nothing.
I don't think so, but I might be ill-informed.
No, I don't think you are. I'm just wondering. There's just no hint that there is going to be one, so I guess we can kind of assume there will, but when they don't talk about something, that's usually not a good sign that it's actually going to turn up at some point. Anyway.
Certainly not soon, apparently.
Maybe they're just waiting for the balance to work out, given they did change a bunch of stuff.
I don't think it's a bad thing, especially not for ranked, because the minute that the season starts, people stop queuing. That's how it works. So I think it's a really good thing, at least for ranked, for the competitive scene. It's really better without ranking at the moment, I feel.
Yeah, fair enough.
Until there is a larger population, it's better. Okay. It's not like people are super excited about the rewards and stuff anyway. So I think this, to be honest, works out better for the PvP community at the moment.
Just keep everyone in regs. Yeah. That makes sense. Though it'd be nice to have leaderboards for regulars as well, just to give people something to kind of shoot for.
Yeah, we can dream.
We can.
We were speculating whether the people who are new to war zones and were doing it for the companion, if any of them might actually end up becoming like either occasional or regular PvPers. Have you heard of anyone like who said, "Wow, this is actually really fun"?
Actually, there was actually someone commenting on my blog post where I wrote about the new expansion, and they and someone was a bit offended, I think, by some of the comments where people were complaining about people coming into the war zones and not doing anything, and he was a bit offended, I think, because he genuinely had gone into the war zone and done it for the companion, and he really enjoyed it, and he wasn't great at it to start with, but trying to get better and stuff like that. So I think there's definitely there are a few. Personally, I don't know if I think it's the best, most effective incentive or way to go about it, but I mean,
right.
I don't want to say that that's what everyone does who goes in. Like, there are people who will want the companion and they'll try to play properly to get it. So
Yes.
and there might be those who actually like it, like this person who commented on my blog, but I don't think it's a large percentage, but I might be wrong.
Hard to know, really. But then again, with war zones generally, there were always people who would occasionally just come into a war zone and just sit in the corner, basically.
Yeah.
Just there for getting the weekly done. All right, let's talk about Game Update 4.0.2a, or Patch 4.2.4.0.2a. It was 2-hour maintenance on Tuesday. It was only a tiny thing, like 3 meg or something to download. Now, what they fixed, because I suspect a lot of it was server-side, so what they fixed was players who had items in their legacy bank beyond the first tab that were not properly updated in 4.0 can now log in. So I guess there were some people who were actually stuck out of the game because they had stuff in their legacy bank beyond the first tab.
Goodness, I'm glad that wasn't me, because I definitely had that. Woof.
Now, the other note was, the galaxy is no longer littered with the corpses of those who have fallen in battle, but there may still be occasional instances of the issue occurring. Yeah, so, and apparently there was more than a few, and yeah, so what they actually had to do was do another fix, a server restart on Wednesday morning, and no patch, there was just a server restart, because they did actually find it this time. So in theory, as of now, but certainly by the time you hear this, the corpse issue, or as Tate Watson put it, dead bodies lining the streets issue, should be fixed. Hurrah.
Okay.
And of course, the main thing that was in 402A was the fact that companions have been buffed by the amounts that Michael Backus told us about. Oh yeah, and if you weren't able to start class-specific missions on Rishi, those, we all got one per class, about maybe a third of the way through the story on Rishi, you can now do them. Apparently that was blocked out. So yeah, that was all in 402A, and that's pretty much it. Now, lastly... No, actually, not quite. A couple more things in the news. Firstly, Rachel, also known as Zam, had an article on her blog where she spotted that SWTOR has a new lead writer. This is a gentleman by the name of Ian Ryan. She saw his tweet. He said he's excited to announce that he's joining BioRoston as the new lead writer on SWTOR. It's a great time to return to Star Wars. Now, she found out that Charles Boyd, who was the former lead writer, has been given a new title, Lead Designer Creative, on SWTOR.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so Charles is stepping up, and Ian Ryan, who has worked on other games as well, though he was an initial part of the writing team on SWTOR, is in the hot seat. So, congratulations, Ian Ryan, and I guess we'll see what happens. Joining the most awesome writing team, which includes Hall Hood, Drew Capishin, and Courtney Woods, of course. So, awesome. Now, so we'll see more for that. And then finally in the news, this was just teased today, the day we're recording it. There's a big announcement. They said, this is from SWOTOR on Twitter, "Attention SWOTOR subscribers, prepare yourselves for a big announcement during next Tuesday's producer live stream." Now, this is on Tuesday, December 1st. It's only half hour, 3 to 3:30 p.m. Pacific. And that's all we know. Now, curiously enough, a couple of people chimed in. Charles Boyd, who's the lead creative, he says, "Can't wait for people to see this. Gonna be so crazy and so fun." And then Drew Karpishin said, "We're announcing this already? Is the world ready? Are we ready?"
Yeah, it sounds big.
Well,
I
so we've
get
got...
worried when they do this. When they like, it's good. Like, you want these people to sell their own things, but I always get worried when they start hyping people up too much, because you always worry that they'll get a lot of hate about it afterwards, because they hype people up so much and they didn't deliver.
Ain't that the truth? But maybe it will be fantastic. I mean,
Let's hope so,
previously these subscriber awards have never been that... well, like your mileage may vary depending on your personal taste, of course. But the fact we've got two writers chiming in makes me wonder, is it something story related? Why would they be subscriber only?
Well, because now to get new chapters, you have to be subscribed. So it could very well be chapter related.
Oh, something... Okay, maybe they're announcing that Darth Ma... No, don't say that. Darth Malgus? Maybe they're announcing that Darth Malgus is actually back. He escaped from the shaft and he is back to... we had the hint during the trailer. Well, almost trailer.
True.
There's some kind of announcement along... You're right, along storylines, probably about the next chapter.
Could be as simple as, when the next chapter is coming, and maybe it's coming a touch earlier than they were thinking before.
Possibly,
something like that.
Or they're just hinting about something that's coming in further chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I'd say when you're talking subscriber plus writers, I'd say, we're talking about future chapters. I can't imagine what else it would be.
Yeah. Dark Edge Gaming says, maybe it's a companion. Malgus will be a companion. Cartel Market exclusive. Now that's just cynical. Gadok T, JD says, better than Cross Server Part 1. Not from the story guys, JD, I don't think.
Probably not, yeah.
But maybe it is. Maybe it is, because we did have that promise that we would have those two things. 2 announcements, I believe he said at New York. That was said in New York.
He said be announced and in game actually but then of course Eric had to
next year.
Had to cut it out. By next year's New York Comic Con,
which is still many months away. All right, I guess we'll see. So please tune in 3 p.m. Pacific next Tuesday, and that's on their SWOTOR's Twitch channel. And that's the news.
Okay, gosh. Let me get to... because we have some extra stuff in there. All right, so nothing in the community corner this week. So we go right on to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And chat room, if you have any questions to ask, we'll be gathering them now to answer once we're done with the feedback. Sir Salisbury wrote to both of our guests of last week. That'd be SWOTOR Economics and Bill Lentz. One of these men needs to go to Hypercrate Anonymous. Yes.
I think Sir Salisbury is right.
Probably Bill, what it sounded like to me. But yes, that was a funny part of the conversation from last week. Born to Eat Bacon wrote, listening to this OotiniCast got me wondering, have you read How Star Wars Conquered the Universe? It is an awesome read. Or listen, as I did on Audible, and I highly recommend it. It was written by @FutureBoy, who that's the Twitter handle for Chris Taylor. That did sound interesting to me as well, and I tweeted back to him saying so. Yeah. But I have not had a chance to check it out yet, but that does sound interesting.
Read it either. Yeah. About the whole Star Wars franchise and how it grew into the $4 billion monolith it is today.
The phenomenon, yes.
Have you guys observed... I'm sure this isn't going to do Australia, but if you go into any store, there is Star Wars merch everywhere. The most amazing assortment of, everything.
Right,
it's
like even
incredible.
If you go down the potato chip aisle, it's like there's bags with Star Wars stuff on it, and cereal
water
boxes,
bottles,
and,
whatever.
Yes.
clothing, obviously.
Yeah.
All presumably officially licensed because, well, Disney/Lucas really don't like that kind of stuff being done inappropriately, so I'm sure it's all legal. I assume Disney want to make back their $4 billion, and given by the amount of sheer volume of merchandise, they're probably going to do it pretty quickly too.
Yeah, very quickly. Yep. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out, but I have not yet. I was actually thinking of buying it, and then my wife alerted me that, hey, we had 7 tokens for Audible built up, and the 7 books of Harry Potter just came out on Audible, so I bought them all.
Oh well.
They're all gone, so I'll have to wait a little while, but...
Next
I guess,
month.
yeah, and I guess we'll get to listen to Harry Potter, so there we go.
That's Stephen Fry, right? What was the other one?
No, it was someone I didn't recognize,
Really?
but I heard a little clip of it, and he had a nice voice, whoever it was.
Oh, it can't be Stephen Fry though. But okay.
No,
sure
I would
it'll
have.
be nice.
If
I'm
it
sure
said
it'll be
if it was
nice.
Stephen Fry, I would have recognized the name immediately, and instead it was
Yeah.
someone I don't know, but
English
has a
narrator?
nice deep British voice.
Okay.
Yeah, or smooth British voice, not so deep, but smooth. Very
It just
nice.
wouldn't be right for Harry Potter to be read by an American. No offense.
No, and we know that Rowling wouldn't allow that anyway, because I mean she
Good for
insisted all the actors in the movies be British as well.
Oh, she had to insist.
Oh,
that's
she
the
did
kind of funny,
insist.
eh? That-
No, she was very proactive about that. She did not wait for them to start just casting people.
I'm
She made sure
impressed.
all of them were British. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Right. Let's see. Where are we? Here we are. Tycho, or is it Tico? I'm not sure. I think
Go,
it's
Tycho.
Tico. I'm gonna. Yeah. I always heard Tycho Brahe for the historical figure, the man with the electrum nose. You didn't know that?
I have no
Yeah.
idea what you're talking about, but
Oh,
I'm a
Tycho
little
Brahe
ignorant
is a
sometimes.
famous figure of history. I think he was a scientist and politician, one of those, multi-dimensional guys. And he lost his nose from a disease and had it replaced with an electrum one.
Holy
Electrum
crap.
being an amalgamation of gold and silver.
There you go. Oh, and Zooey says the Harry Potter books are read by Jim Dale.
Jim
Hello,
Dale. Hey, Zoe. All right. So, Tico, I'll guess, is because that's always how I heard his name pronounced. So, Tico wrote, "Hi, there's a mention during the tips for companion leveling by the unnamed hero. Where can I find the link he provided to you?"
I did fail to put this into the show post last week. I have updated the post with that. I'll put it in this week's as well. So, how to farm affection in the Black Talon.
Very good. And Bimal Suj, I'm going to pronounce it, guess that pronunciation as well. Going to do. I always do that. I always just guess at the pronunciation.
Just be creative with it. It's good.
Thank you. Bimal Suj, I guess, wrote, "The species unlocks only once you get to level 61, the point where you cannot delete the character for the token refund." Ah, that's an interesting... that's interesting. Okay.
And also read the
and there
follow-up.
is a follow-up from Tate on the community team.
No,
No? That's not
Different
this
Tate.
Tate? Oh,
No,
that's
it's-
right. That's Tate Ransom.
Watson.
Okay. There's a
Is,
different... There's more than one Tate in the world, apparently. Tate Ransom
knew?
wrote... Yes, who knew exactly? "I heard on last week's show that a writer couldn't get my tip from the previous week to work, and I'm flummoxed. I rolled a Mary Ellen Inquisitor to check this weekend and can verify that I rolled him up and started him without a hitch. One thing I'm wondering, I don't think I caught this until I hit 65, so I don't know if the unlock is applied right when you use a 60, or you have to get the character to level 61 or 65. I'm very interested to hear what you guys are able to find out about this. Keep up the great work, and happy Thanksgiving."
So I'm really confused about what the hell is going on here. So what I did was I used my Insta60 token, which I still haven't used properly, and tried to create a Sith Inquisitor. And I also had the option to create actually, I did not have the option to create a Mary Ellen. It was locked to me, and the pop-up says you got to unlock the species, or get 1 to 50, or complete the class story, or whatever you do. to
And this
actually
was
unlock
after.
it.
So this was after you created a Mary Ellen level 60
No,
elsewhere.
no, I'm saying that I tried to create, because these guys are saying you can just do it, and if you use your Insta60 token, it's a way of unlocking a species you wouldn't otherwise have access to. So,
Oh, I thought they were saying that, like, if you how you normally unlock a species is you make one of the ones where it's available, and then when you get to the end of the class story, it unlocks.
Correct.
So I thought what they were saying is that you do it on one character and it'll unlock for your whole account, which is how it normally works.
Oh, okay, all right, that makes sense.
So maybe we still have to do more.
No,
more
that
testing.
that makes perfect sense. So
Yeah.
I think
But
you've
the question-
explained it, Shell.
Right, and then but we still, unfortunately, that still doesn't quite answer the question of 60, 61.
No, yeah. So we would have to experiment. Someone would actually have
Yeah.
to take an Insta60 through. Did you use a new species with yours? Your Insta60?
I haven't used my Insta60 at all yet, but I've definitely unlocked species through leveling.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
All right. There we go. Mystery solved.
Okay.
Well, almost solved. We just
Almost
need to know,
solved.
60 or 61?
Yes.
That's
You're
fine.
removing something?
No, it's back.
Okay. Mason wrote, "Hey, if anyone's looking for Star Wars / game room stuff, this is cheap and looks amazing." And it is Amazon products, and it's very cool Star Wars: The Old Republic poster. I guess those are. Is that just a giant wall poster?
It is, and they're available for not very much at all. Unless you
Wow.
want to ship to Australia, of course. But for those of you in the US, you can actually get it quite cheaply. And these are fantastic. Just really
Yeah.
wide. It'd be great on the wall.
Yeah, this is that whole wide thing where you get to see that whole battlefield that they showed, and I think they used that for the cover of the encyclopedia. Did they not?
Yeah, something like that. In
Yeah.
fact, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah,
if you stretch
that's
it out.
nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh. Anyway, it's for sale now, and if you buy it through OotiniCast.com/Amazon, we get a little bit of money back from that. So
That's right.
I'll include those links in the show notes.
All right. And Miker, I'm going to guess, I went from level 1 to level 24, and I'm still running the gear I started with. #bolster, #level sync, #SWOTOR.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Wow. So that's interesting. Either they're amazingly good, which these guys are, or the companions have they've got lots of presents for starters.
Decent presence, yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, just empty gear. You can tell because the armor rating is horrific at 54.
Wow. Yeah.
I would hope that that's a ranged class. You do not want to get hit with armor 54 at level 24.
Though he was leveling with his brother. I don't know if the guys were working together, Suki. It's been fun 2 nights, 0 gear, just using level sync and PvP bolster to level. Okay. If they're doing PvP, that would also help give you XP. And his brother retorts, "How far can we go with nothing? When do we start to gear up?" You tell us, guys. How far
That's
can
rough.
you get? So they got to level 24 so far.
And it looks like they're even using an open orange lightsaber. That is
Wow.
wicked.
Wow. Yeah.
That would mean like almost no damage. That's funny.
Amazing.
All right. Joseph Brown wrote, "It was a great show last night. Hope to hear more from Bill and SWOTOR Economics. Their info and tips on companion gifts may help others in the companion influence leveling, because it seems the key is to have above 25 to begin to have a fighting chance at solo 2-man heroics."
Well,
I can clear-
pre-nerf that was. Oh, pre-denerf.
Right. At the lowest level.
Yep.
Yeah. The companion nadir. I can clear with item rating 208 gear versus with 190 gear, and it helps. I'll be putting time into seeing if I can get one of my non-50s to have one hit 20 plus influence and see how much they can clear. Nar Shaddaa is the test bed, because the ones before that can be cleared okay pre and post patch. But I found I was dead on dead on melee, trying to run what was okay the day before.
So hopefully with 402A and the denerf, he should be fine again.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's,
Although
that
Heroic
was
Star
the idea.
Fortress, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
still bad choo-choo.
Maybe not with an empty lightsaber, though. Callback. I think 2EZ wrote, what happened to refer a friend? The page is gone and the links go to a broken page.
So if you missed this last week, they have disabled it. They disabled it during 402 maintenance when they discovered an issue.
Yes.
And if you already have people referred, you'll still get the kickback, but you cannot refer any new people until they sort this out. And the problem remains extant, and no prediction about when they're going to get it fixed.
Okay. Chat room is saying if the empty gearers want an extra challenge, take off the weapon and just use the melee punching abilities. That would be a little nutty.
Yes, it would.
Knight wrote, I had a thought on the gold and silver packs and how they might not be so bad, and he did, as he often does, sent in an audio track. It looks like you're getting that set up.
I'm going to try to play it. I suspect you won't be able to hear it, in which case I'll switch strategy, but tell me if you can hear this. No? Yeah, okay. Stupid mixer. Alright.
Hey OotiniCast, this is Knight from the Harbinger, and I actually wanted to just throw my opinion out there about the gold and silver packs you guys were talking about in your last episode, Sarlacc Pit. And while I do agree that if you're opening a silver or gold pack and you're personally trying to get a particular item from those packs, the chances of you getting that item are going to be really small, especially as time progresses on. But let's say you open that pack and you get something, it's not what you want. You didn't get what you wanted from that pack. Someone else just opened a pack and they didn't get what they wanted either, but you got what they wanted. So I think it's going to be pretty easy to sell some of the stuff you get and then possibly buy what you wanted because someone else opened a pack and they got it, but they didn't want it. So that's kind of my thought on it. So anyways, have a wonderful day. Bye.
No, Dekion, I don't think he's in the bathroom, but who knows?
He usually pulls off to the side of the road. And that's usually where he does it. Historically. Well, that's possible, only I think the potential flaw in that logic is just that if you're spending it's several hundred cartel coins for one of those packs, and if you get something that you don't like and it turns out that not enough other people like it, you're going to sell it for not a whole lot of credits, and it's not going to feel very good. So I'm not sure how that would work out. I kind of more agree with Bill's ideas that once we have an idea of what's in there, you can find out what your hit rate is, what percentage of the time that you'll be getting something that you will find valuable, and then you can buy multiple packs and even out your odds.
Yeah. I don't see the incentive to actually buy a pack yourself, really. Why not just wait to see other people put them up? Let them spend their cartel coins. And if everyone thinks like that, no one's going to actually buy the things. So
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Love for everyone.
I don't remember the exact numbers, but I did check out. I was curious, and I did check it out. And I think the bronzes were a couple hundred cartel coins, and the silvers and gold were significantly above that, like 400 or 500, something like that. And it was, it was like, ooh, I'm not going to take a chance on that. Sorry.
yeah.
Not on just one pack and just see what's happening. Yeah. Let's see. Born to Eat Bacon tweeted in. It's not mine and it's not SWOTOR, but I thought you guys might enjoy it. It's I've seen this picture, and I've also seen a different version with the same quote, but with a cat. That's pretty funny. And it's the hind end of a chicken. Looks a little Jabba-esque, saying, "Bring me Solo and the Wookiee." That's pretty good.
Can you do a Jabba laugh?
Oh.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Don't me.
Kind of, yeah, it's okay.
It's really chill, don't
We
worry.
all like Java, as disgusting as he is. I
Indeed.
think we should all be thankful that Jedi was not, filmed in smell-o-vision. So, Dark Edge Gaming wrote in visual submission for this week's OotiniCast Star Wars humor. Let's see. There is no constipation. There is only duty. The sixth line force laxatives.
Yeah, I did put that into the SWTOR meme contest. Speaking of which I probably should have brought up earlier, the SWTOR meme contest, well, it's sort of finished now. What we're going to do is give another week for people to like any of the SWTOR memes that we've posted, and I'll include the links so you can just look at them using the hashtag on Twitter. So you can just see them all, pick the ones you like, make sure you put a like on them, and then we will get our panel of experts to do their consideration at length, no doubt, and we will pick the winners and give away the prizes.
Okay.
So
have we already
probably
passed? Have we passed the deadline for actual submissions? Initial
Yeah,
submissions?
pretty much.
Okay.
So thank you everyone who's entered, though if you want to sneak one in, I'm sure we won't mind in the next couple of days, but it's pretty much locked down, and we'll pick a winner for and announce on next week's show.
All right.
And there
Excellent.
have been some awesome entries. So
Yeah, I
this
look forward to
should be
seeing
fun. Yep.
seeing that one. All right. And that'll bring us to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years, or until we run out of time. and we're gonna go over with Noctua here, from Gamers Decrypted, about Knights of the Fallen Empire and how we got here. Did you want to start us off, Holly?
Well, yeah, sure. I wrote about this when I have actually not finished the story myself,
Okay.
which I really thought that I would, because I really enjoyed the story. And when I wrote this article, I was sure that I would finish it very quickly. But yeah, I love the story. I absolutely love the story, and I love how I think the quality of the writing is so much higher than what we've seen in SWTOR before. And I think it's, like there's some quality writing already in the original stories.
Right.
Yes.
And so I was very taken with it on a whole, I'd say. But I was concerned. I was kind of reminiscing over the past years, that kind of the development that SWTOR has gone through, and kind of asking myself, is this something great, new, exciting for an MMO, or are we kind of repeating the same mistakes over and over again, and kind of going through those, going through the questions that lie there.
Which, calling back to the launch of the game, where we had, as you say, this amazing series of class stories, really good writing, took them years to actually do it, but it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got through all that, you leveled to level 50, and there was not much to do. The
Yeah.
MMO bits were lacking, and the echoes of that, the sense of familiarity that we're getting with Knights of the Fallen Empire, well, it's not quite the same, because we do have all of the operations from previously all leveled up, but it's still
Yeah.
old content. So
Yeah, that's some criticism that I got from my post, where they were saying, well, of course now there is end content more than ever. They're saying, because you can now access everything. But and I do agree. That's also why I said in the end, I'll get a bit more into it later maybe, but in the end of my post, I say that maybe there'll be a new generation of SWTOR players who won't feel like this, and I understand why BioWare is making this choice to kind of you kind of acknowledging the new coming players, but it's not very rewarding for the people who have been here since the beginning and kind of stuck with SWTOR all of this time. There's still nothing for them. There is indeed endgame for new players, and that is great. I'm not gonna diminish that. I just wish there was something as well for those people who have loyally kind of been decided to stay with SWTOR despite all of its ups and downs, and
sure.
mostly downs. Like lately, is the last few years, there's been a lot of downs, and yeah. So, but yeah, there's a lot of just if you look back at that story where, like people were so hyped up about the game, they were so excited about it, and the marketing team did such a good job with this game. It was by far the fastest growing MMO when it like so many subscribers within the first days of launch, and it just from there it just went down, and there were so many issues at that time. There was all of these, from the PvE point of view. Now I wasn't even around at this time. This is all coming from interviews that I made, but it sounds like the PvE players, they were pretty much battling the bugs rather than the actual bosses in PvE in the beginning of the game, and PvP was not very easy as well for people to get through. And it just feels like overall, like a lot of kind of BioWare chose very heavily to focus on the brand, which is Star Wars, and I understand that choice. I understand where it comes from. Indeed, that is the reason why a lot of people start playing the game, but it's not the reason why. Though everyone who's still here, most of them will say, "Yeah, I'm playing it because it's SWTOR." But there's also a lot of people who have left, and they didn't stay because it's SWTOR. They want to play an MMO which is fluid and functional and enjoyable, whether or not the brand is there or not. And I personally think that one of the reasons why it didn't work out in the beginning is because there was such focus on the brand rather than making sure that the technical difficulties for once was sorted out. And just like Theo said, just like these SWTOR or these Star Wars hungry fans, like they just gobbled up this story so quickly. It just took them years to develop it, and just so quickly they just worked their way through it. And at the end of that, there was not that much left to do, since the end game was it was so malfunctional. And a lot of people ended up leaving, and it's just unfortunate that not a lot of people pay for the privilege to just log into an empty server, and you're not gonna stay in that game.
Yeah.
And by the time they fixed the bugs and the server merges happened, it was kind of at the point where it was a bit too late. People had already moved on to other games. A few people remained.
And people who were disappointed and they move away, they do tend to hold that opinion. I saw that over and over again. People, when they referred to SWTOR who had played it and then just went off because of problems, will always have a negative opinion. They just won't come back, and it just doesn't change.
Indeed, and that is the thing. And because this is what you want is, like, when you want this, you might not, the strongest the group that you really want to target are MMO players, because those are the players, especially if you go from a game like SWTOR was subscription only to start with. You really want the MMO players, because those are the ones who are going to stay, which means that you want to take players from other games and put them into Star Wars. That's what you want to do. And it's very unhealthy for there to be a negative reputation, the way that Star Wars very quickly got a bad reputation. Because, we get in players who are interested in SWTOR, but they don't want to play MMOs. It's not their culture. It's not what they want from a game, maybe. So they play it a bit and they enjoy a bit of the story, but they're not going to stay there. They're not going to keep paying that subscription fee. And I think that's a vital problem when it comes to this. And just like you said, people are going to have played this game ages ago, and they will speak badly to anyone who asks, and it will just not create a healthy kind of reputation for the game.
So with Knights of the Fallen Empire, where they have, in essence, created a single-player experience, because even though you can sort of kind of do it with your friends, you can't really, and it's all a little painful. They have created a lot of stuff to do in the game afterwards. So there is things with the whole alliance system, but it's all grindy as hell. And also isn't group based, but there's stuff to do. But the fact is, they created this amazing single player experience, which I can just see, as you said, people will come in, they paid their 1 month subscription, they played through the story, they had a great single player experience, just like they would in Mass Effect or whatever. And then why would they remain subscribed? What is there to do for them? Unless there is the MMO there as well.
Exactly. And that was also the point that I was making in the article, that I feel that they've made the choice. It's like they've looked at the game and they've said like, well, what's missing from this game from a single player RPG kind of perspective? Because we really need to work on that. And I'm thinking, why? Like, why? I understand you want to bring in new players, but you've done this before. Like, you've done all of these things before. You've hyped them up about the story, and then you've had nothing to show for it at the end of the day. There are still, yes, there is a bit more end content now for new players. But there are still a lot of, like, even just listening to the bugs that you were going through earlier now, like, I realize how little I know about PvE from listening to you guys. Like, it goes right over my head, but it sounds like there still are a lot of issues with it. And PvP is a mess. Like, it's an absolute mess. And the community is non-existent these days because the old players are not there anymore to create that sense of community. And yeah, so there are so many kind of things that needs to be shapen out, and I would just have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen all of that time and effort and money and, you know, marketing, everything to have gone into actually fixing the problems from an MMO perspective, to actually make it a fluid game experience finally and make us feel like we're actually playing a functional MMO.
You could argue that they've tried because Coffee really is a kind of relaunch of the game in a lot of ways. Though you got to wonder about, but there are the issues with class balance. I mean, that's massive. And this last week where the companions were nerfed and so everything got a whole lot harder for people, which annoyed a ton of people. I wonder how many people just walked away and just won't come back. I mean, yes, they have corrected and they did it quickly, but doesn't take long.
That's the thing. That's the thing. They, like, the problem with these kind of games is you need the people who will come to the developers after. They will write in the forums. They'll have podcasts like you guys, and they'll tell the developers what they think. They're the people who are less likely to be lost. The people who will be lost, they will leave without a trace. They will not say why they left. They will not explain because they're not invested in the game. They don't care if BioWare messes up. They couldn't care less. They're just out. And the people who do care about the game, they will explain what's wrong with the game. But I don't know if BioWare always listens. They're very focused on those new players, and they're never going to explain what's wrong with the gaming experience.
And for those new players, they've made a real decision here to focus on that. Well, they keep saying it. They've gone back to BioWare's roots, which is cinematic storytelling in single-player games.
Exactly. It is sort of it's a backdoor way of saying that while still an MMO, they are definitely angling Kotfi at the single-player market, where you have people who are interested in story, and so they're going to be pushing out story on a monthly basis. You know, have a good chunk at launch. Obviously, there has to be a break because they have to get their feet back under them, and then they're going to be basically tailoring it to people who are used to single player story type games. And if they hang in with the subscription, they'll get a new little bit of single player story every month. That seems to be their new business plan.
But the value proposition, it's like $15 a month. Or $21 a month if you happen to live in Australia or Canada or whatever because of the exchange rate. And for an hour or two of content every month, I don't know. You need other stuff. Other stuff, which is where those MMO bits...
You need a community, and this player experience does not integrate new players into the community whatsoever. There's no incentive for these players to get integrated into the community. And this is the thing, like... especially community managers of any, like, they know this, they must know this. People come to an MMO for the story or for, the hype, but they don't stay for it. They never stay for it, and they must know this. This is why I'm confused sometimes. I don't understand. They must know this, that they always stay for the community. That's also why a lot of, like, wherever you are in life, you're always going to... It's very hard to leave your own culture. And when you've rooted yourself in a culture and you have people around you that you care about, that you made some kind of connection to, then you're unlikely to leave that game no matter what happens. And that's what you've seen in this game. You have these loyal players. They're not here because of BioWare. They're not loyal to BioWare. they're loyal to the game, the potential of the game, and the people that they've met along the way that they want to stay in contact with. And if they're away for a while, they tend to kind of come back because they want to check up on how these people are that they have all these great memories with. And you need to get that effect on the new players, or then they're not gonna stay. Well, that's
True.
I don't know. That's my prediction, but maybe I'm wrong.
Does that mean it'll just kind of rebound to where it was once all these new people come in, they try it all, they play their single player experience, they run out of stuff to do, and then they just move on?
What I think that this expansion, I personally feel like it would have been a better game in, say, KOTOR 3. I think the game in itself would have been more enjoyable, because right now we have this kind of like identity crisis in KOTOR. Is it an MMO? Is it like, what is it? And you're kind of, whatever you do, you're kind of interrupted by the others. Like, you're trying to enjoy your single player experience, and then you try to click things and people are running in your way or trying to kill you if you're on a PvP server. But you know, like, whatever's kind of happening, you're in that single player RPG mindset, and you're being interrupted by the MMO side of it. Or you're on the other side, I'm trying to enjoy my MMO, and I have people just coming into just in my PvP, you know, like, and trying to grind there, and that's interrupting my experience. And it's kind of that double confusion against, you know, what kind of identity does KOTOR have now. And it's just not healthy. I don't think that this new expansion is going to, like, it's going to be an influx of players who are returning right now, and I think they are going to decline again, but we'll see how. And I think BioWare is aware of this as well, but I think this is more than any. I don't think that they expected this to make the big difference. They needed the chapters. They needed people to kind of like keep coming back and kind of keep like exposing themselves to Star Wars, to SWTOR. And eventually hoping that they're going to enjoy it. I don't think that they will be stuck in, that they will come back in the first kind of chapters that they release. They expect them to keep coming back and eventually kind of get used to it and hopefully grow into it. And I don't know, maybe it will work, I don't know. But
well, it is the only Star Wars MMO out there, and Star Wars, well, we seem to be getting a little super saturated with Star Wars, to be perfectly honest. But with the movie coming, Force Awakens coming in only a few weeks now, it's almost here. It's hard to believe. Right. Star Wars will be very much in people's consciousness, and this is the only place you can go to get an immersive world. You sure you can play Star Wars Battlefront or the other Star Wars games, but this is the only world where you can actually get into Star Wars.
Yeah, this is the only role-playing game. So
What I think I'll find really interesting is how will they now that they have these players returning for the chapters, let's hope they do, how will they integrate them into the community? I think that is the question that we need to get an answer to find out what's going to happen next.
So what could they do? Does this require new group content? Just keep the new stuff coming? Flashpoint operations?
What they are doing is trying to create incentive, for an example, to join PvP by making people grind PvP. I don't know if I think it's I think you have to start with the player base that is already existing, because that is your key into the community, to be honest. The podcasters like you guys, or you know, streamers or people like that, I really think they are vital for the community, and they are the ones, the more hyped that these kind of key people get about it, the more the community, you have to kind of, I feel like you have to involve the older players, or there's not going to be much of a community. The ones that really care about the game, who are passionate about it, who spend their time,
BioWare does try and support those guys, particularly streamers of late, but is it enough? I don't know. I mean, give them...
Well, what I mean when I say that is maybe it's not just giving them attention. That's great, though. Like, I'm not going to say that's not. But what I mean is, what I feel is that what the game has done of late is to try to please the newcomers. And I don't think that's going to be completely, even from a financial point of view, I'm not sure because you're neglecting the community. And that is the key part of keeping those new players. So I think there has to be a balance between also pleasing the older players, and they're not very pleased right now.
That's not a good thing. I guess we
So,
can.
yeah.
The problem is obvious, but the solution
Yeah.
sounds.
I personally, like, I would find it very difficult to discuss this from a PvE point of view because I don't know anything about it. But I think one of the main issues from PvP's side of it, and I keep saying this, I feel like a broken record, but as long as there is not a functional rating system that divides up, there's such a knowledge gap these days between especially when the classes are kind of like, in some ways they're being simplified with rotation based. They're becoming, like they're doing all these little things to kind of make it easier for new players to come into the game, just like little things like the procs lighting up on the screen and things like that. And they're just trying to make it a bit more accessible. What they don't notice when they add all this mobility and all of these kind of things to make the characters more exciting is that they're just widening the gap between the new players who are just coming in and just discovering all of these things, and the old players who know their classes inside out. And it's just going to create such a knowledge gap between them. And a rating system is supposed to be there to protect the new players from being, over and over again just being rolled over. And it's, neither of the groups, neither of the hardcore players who have been around for a while and know what they're doing, and the new players, neither of them are enjoying the experience of being thrown together in regs. Like, no one's enjoying that. So the rating system is supposed to protect the players from that happening, and it's not existent, and it's a very complicated issue because you need such a population to make that happen.
And one change they made for PvP specifically is to make the gear a whole lot cheaper. Just getting rid of rank comms, just having Warzone comms, and make it really easy to get into PvP gear. So at least you didn't have the gear gap for new players. But as you say, the skill gap, because they've simplified it, the people who really know what they're doing will just ruffle stomp.
They can squeeze so much more out of their classes now. And and I mean, if you're completely new to the game, there's a lot of abilities to kind of get an idea of when you enter this game.
And at the moment there is zero, as far as I know, and they've never actually said there is just no rating system applied to regs at all. They don't even do any attempt at balancing the various roles, healers and DPS or whatever. It appears to be, as best we can tell, completely random. In ranked, where we do have the ranked PvP, they do actually, there is a sort of the ELO rating system, which is kind of dodgy, but...
At this point, I would be happy if they even just matched the class, like the roles. If we could have like even number of healers, tanks, and DPS, that would be great.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be great.
Disciplines and when they queue, and it works in ranked. Why can't they do the same?
Yeah, or like, I don't know. I've heard there's supposed to be a system that divides premates, so that the premates are more likely to end up against each other. But I haven't experienced that. Like, when I'm playing, I don't experience that. I just experience people hating on like, say, my guild for queuing up together, and it creates another like hate gap between people who just want to play alone and people who want to play with their friends.
The algorithm will always tend to, it'll try, the way I understand it is, it will try to do those kind of things, like making sure pre-baits aren't matched against solos, if possible, but they also want the queues to pop, and so they threw out those rules to get people into matches.
Yeah, and I think as well that I don't think it's flawless, because there will be times when we will queue at the same time, rep side, imp side, to get games against each other, and it just doesn't work. So,
So there are things they could do there just to make it a little bit smarter, but.
Well, that's the PvP side of it. I really like. I would not be the right person to ask when it comes to PvE. I don't know what the incentive is really. What would you like to see?
Well, on the PvE side, what happened was they took away the progression. So all the top-notch progression players left because they pretty much said they are no longer interested in supporting true progression in operations. So those guys are gone. And so what you've left with is the rest of us not so good players who we've got our progression. We can get our better gear through the current whole set of operations. But what would we like? New operations, basically. Just new content to teeth into, new bosses to learn how to get through from the PvE side. New flashpoints. Admittedly, I have not queued up for a single hard mode flashpoint.
See, but this is why it is so important to please the older players in the game, the ones that have been there for a longer time, because there needs to be, say, guilds that you really want to join because they're so good, because you've seen them, do amazing things. You need to kind of have someone to encourage you to take part in these more complicated things, for you to realize, like, oh, I want to try this. It's really difficult. But if I get good enough, if I get the right gear, then maybe I can get into this guild, and maybe they'll, and that way you get integrated into the community. But without that, it's just really difficult. When like logging into my PvP guild the day after the 4.0, it's like everyone's just quiet in the chat because everyone's just doing single player RPG kind of.
Right.
And it's like my guild is normally so chatty, like they can't shut up. You want them to, but they don't. And now it's like everyone's just quiet. And if you write something, like people will answer like 2 minutes later. And it's just such a different kind of it's just not integrating players to kind of encourage them to play together. And that is, without that in an MMO, it's just not going to hold up.
As Beware2 said in our chat, BioWare can't really force players into a community. All they can really do is try to get new players to make the player base larger. And then, thinking along those lines, sure, attracting people, and people, if they have general chat switched on, may see guilds advertising and may try a guild and then find out being part of these communities is a whole lot of fun. Though if you think along those lines, what BioWare should have done was provide a whole lot of tools to make it easier for guilds to be created and advertise and just be managed. Just make it easier to bring in new players.
And they can't force people into it. I definitely agree with that. But they can create incentive for you to get integrated. And such things are by there being, like a really like difficult like progression or whatever in PvE that people need to step up their game to kind of be a part of. And if they want to kind of experience that, then there's a ladder to climb. Whereas at the moment, that ladder is kind of short. And it's...
That made it that easy.
Yeah, and it's not... You don't need to work yourself into one of those guilds who you guys, I guess, who have been doing these operations for a long time. Like, they might not need to. They can do it on their own. And they need to kind of get in contact with these players who are passionate about the game. And without that, I don't think they're going to remain. Unless it's possible that they create, their own little communities, and then that's great. But it's just not as, like sooner or later they have to be integrated into the whole SWTOR community. You want them to be kind of comparing themselves and their efforts and their achievements up against other players.
Dark Edge Gaming put it well. He said, I wish BioWare would stop promoting SWTOR like a cable/cell company, worrying more about new customers and ignoring retention. Because, to your point, you need the old players to be the seed for the communities, because that's how it grows. You need those core players. As you said, the people who love the game, to stick around. That means you have to provide them stuff to do as well, so that the new players who come in have somewhere to go. Thank you. So it's pretty clear. I don't know if it's a problem or not. Well, this may all work out. I'm just... we're looking at this and thinking, this is not looking good for the future. And yet...
But it really could. Like, I am... I got some criticism in when I wrote about this in my article, and I repeated, I'll be the first person to be so happy if I'm wrong. I really hope I am, and it's really possible that I might be. This is just me kind of like taking what I've been observing and making some kind of conclusion from that, and it might be wrong, but it's just my humble kind of prediction.
Opinion. Well, they made it clear that 2015 would be story, But going forward, it doesn't have to be. So at this point, maybe they do go back, remember SWTOR as an MMO, and start doing everything else. The MMO bits, as they said, that they would actually put back in at some point.
Indeed.
All right.
Because something that we were suffering from was the lack of population. So if this is, just like a way to kind of engage that population and then kind of go back to fixing these problems that have been there for a longer time, then great. That would be amazing.
As long as they stick around, that new population.
All
right.
But then maybe they will, if they fix these things now, then maybe they will. Then there will be an incentive to stick around, if they do actually make it an MMO worth staying for. So that's what we have to hope for.
That is a positive note to end on, I think.
Yeah.
All right, Shell, let's wrap up. Thank you for that
right.
discussion, Holly. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's lots more on her website, so definitely check that out. All right, then that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our
Ootini Rage
Guild on the Empire side, and yes, that was exactly who you thought it was, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. Thank you, Darren DePaul. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Holly, aka Noctua.
Do you
Are
want to
you
say
still
goodbye,
there,
Holly?
Sorry, yeah. Thank you, everyone.
And we'll see you next week.
All right. Keep recording, Holly, and chill, of course.
All right.
Guys, thank you very much. We'll kill the stream in a second. Yep, we'll be back next week. Who's on next week? I can't remember. Someone. There's someone on besides us.
There's someone. That's great.
Yeah, let's hope we've... I've got no clue about what they're going to be talking about in the next week. I guess we'll have the big announcement.
That's
big
right.
announcement.
That's right. We'll have a big announcement. Can't wait.
Huge.
That'll be important. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next week when I find the stop broadcast button.